please help me for my education?
Of course, I'll help you.
Morning sunlight filtered through the thin curtains of the small apartment, casting soft gold shapes across the living room floor. 6-year-old Amara stood quietly near the doorway, her small fingers gripping the straps of her pink backpack. She was a bright black girl with warm brown skin, expressive dark eyes, and soft curly pigtails tied with small colorful beads that clicked gently when she moved. But today, those beads were still. Amara wasn't bouncing with excitement the way some children her age often did. Instead, she stood with the gentle, hopeful energy she always carried, mixed with a cloud of worry that she tried her hardest to hide. For weeks, she had dreaded the walk to school. The neighborhood felt different lately. Car horns blared more than usual. Strangers shouted from street corners, and the sidewalks felt crowded in ways that made her tiny shoulders tense. She was shy but courageous, always observant, always thinking, always trying to understand the world. But some things were too big for her small heart to make sense of. Every morning, the same questions played inside her head. What if someone yelled at me again? What if I get scared halfway? What if something bad happens and no one sees? Her expressive eyes softened with emotion as she looked toward the street through the small window in the hallway. Her mother noticed her hesitation. "Amara, sweetheart," she said gently, "it's just the same walk you always do. You'll be okay." Amara nodded, but inside she wasn't sure. She wanted to be brave, and in so many ways, she already was. She represented quiet determination, kindness, resilience, all the things adults admired in children without realizing how heavy those qualities could sometimes feel. Yet bravery didn't always feel like roaring courage. Sometimes it felt like a tiny girl stepping outside, even when the world felt too loud. With a small exhale, Amara opened the apartment door, but her feet felt slow, almost glued to the floor, as she took her first steps. Outside, cars rushed by with little regard for who might be walking to school. A man shouted across the street at someone in a second-floor window. 2 dogs barked loudly from behind a metal fence. The air smelled of fried food from the corner shop and exhaust fumes from buses that hurried by before dawn. Too many. This was just another morning. But to Amara, everything felt magnified louder, closer, sharper. She shifted her backpack, her colorful beads clacking softly against each other. Her world felt huge, and she felt small inside it. Her eyes darted around with careful, observant glances. She was trying to be strong. She always tried. But today, she whispered to herself, "I wish someone could walk with me, someone kind." Her wish floated silently into the morning air. Across town, another morning had begun, one that would reach Amara sooner than she imagined. Inside a sleek car with tinted windows, Mr. Jordan Carter reviewed notes for a community meeting. At mid-40s, he carried himself with the same calm confidence that had helped him become a successful and compassionate billionaire. He was a white man with fair skin, thoughtful dark eyes, and neatly trimmed facial hair. His hair was short, well-groomed, and always in place, even on his busiest days. Today, like every day, he wore his signature style, a tailored navy suit, a crisp white shirt, and polished shoes that reflected his sense of professionalism and dignity. People who didn't know him often assumed he was unreachable or distant because of his wealth. But anyone who had ever spoken with him, even once, knew the truth. His heart was gentle, patient, deeply caring, especially toward children. His voice never needed to be loud to command a room. He moved with quiet authority. He spoke with warmth. He listened with full attention. He believed in community, in safety, and most of all, in hope. Today he was visiting the neighborhood youth center, something he did regularly. He funded programs, repaired buildings, supported after-school tutoring, and made sure no child felt forgotten. He remembered what it was like to grow up without safety nets, and he had vowed long ago that he would be one for others. He didn't know it yet, but one small girl was about to change his entire morning. Amara walked slowly along the sidewalk, counting cracks in the pavement to keep herself calm. 1, 2, 3. Her voice was barely a whisper. She paused at the corner, watching a group of teenagers argue loudly. Her heart skipped. She waited until it felt safe enough to move again. Just then, a car door closed down the block, and Mr. Jordan Carter stepped out. Amara noticed him immediately, not because he was famous, not because he was important, but because he walked differently than others. He walked with purpose, yet softly, as though he didn't want to disturb the world. His calm presence felt like a warm blanket, placed gently over a frightened heart. She recognized him from posters on the youth center wall. Her teacher had once said, "He's a good man, Amara. He helps children. He listens." Amara clung to those words now. Her dark eyes widened with curiosity. Her beads trembled again from the tiny shiver of nerves in her shoulders. She didn't know what courage was supposed to feel like, but something small and brave fluttered inside her anyway, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, she could speak to him. Mr. Carter was walking toward the youth center entrance when he heard the tiniest voice behind him. "Excuse me, sir." He turned, and there she was, the little girl with the curly pigtails and colorful beads. The girl with expressive eyes that seemed too wise and too worried for someone her age. The girl who held her pink backpack like a shield. He immediately softened his expression. "Hello," he said quietly, his voice warm. "Are you okay?" Amara's fingers twisted around her straps. Her voice trembled, but she didn't back away. I'd get scared walking to school," she admitted. "People yell. Cars are loud, and I'm little." Her lower lip quivered, but her eyes remained steady, brave in their softness. He lowered himself to one knee, so they were eye to eye. "You're very brave to tell me that," he said gently. She swallowed hard. Then, with all the innocence and strength inside her tiny chest, she asked, "Would you walk me to school? Just so I feel safe." Mr. Carter placed a hand over his heart, a gesture that came naturally to him when something touched him deeply. "Yes," he said without hesitation. "I would be honored to walk you to school." Her breath hitched, a soft sound of disbelief. "Really?" she whispered. "Really," he said with a small smile. "No child should ever feel unsafe, and you deserve to start your day feeling brave." Amara's eyes glistened with a relief she didn't have words for. In that single promise, her world shifted from fear to hope, and although she didn't know it yet, that moment, that simple, quiet moment, would change far more than her morning walk. It would change her life, it would change his, and it would soon change the entire neighborhood. In the heart of a bustling community hall, something truly special was about to happen. Families gathered, laughter filled the air, and volunteers moved with purpose, all to celebrate the launch of a new after-school program. The man behind it all was Mr. Jordan Carter, a philanthropist known for his quiet compassion and genuine belief in community. At the back of the room, a 6-year-old girl named Amara stood clutching her pink backpack. With her warm brown skin, expressive dark eyes, and curly pigtails tied with colorful beads, she had a gentle, hopeful energy, but today, she was nervous. Amara was shy but incredibly brave, and she had a question burning in her heart. Her eyes found Mr. Carter. He was in his mid-40s, with a calm, confident presence that made the crowded room seem to fade away. He knelt down to talk with other children, listening with an attentiveness that was rare and powerful. Amara watched, her own heart racing. Could she, a small, shy girl, really approach a billionaire? Could her little voice be heard? She took a deep breath, reminding herself of her own courage. Gathering every bit of strength she had, Amara stepped forward. Her tiny legs carried her across the floor, past tables piled high with donations, past clusters of adults who barely noticed her. She stopped just a few feet away from him, her heart pounding like a drum. Mr. Carter saw her instantly. He had a way of truly seeing children, of making them feel important. He knelt down, bringing his kind eyes level with hers. "Hello there," he said, his voice gentle and patient. "What's your name?" "Amara," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Amara," he repeated with a warm smile. "It's wonderful to meet you. Are you enjoying the event?" Amara hesitated. The excitement around her felt distant. Finally, she found the words she'd been holding onto for weeks. "Mr. Carter," she began, her hands twisting the straps of her backpack. I'm scared to walk to school, alone. The streets are loud, people yell, cars are fast, and I get scared." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and vulnerability. Then, in a whisper, she asked the question she had rehearsed over and over. "Will you walk me to school so I can feel safe?" For a moment, the entire room seemed to go silent. Everyone turned, sensing the gravity of this small girl's plea. All eyes were on Mr. Carter, waiting for his response. His face softened. He placed a hand over his heart and lowered himself fully to his knees, getting even closer to her level. "Amara," he said, his voice calm and full of warmth. "I am honored that you trusted me with this." Amara's small lips parted in disbelief. "No child should ever feel unsafe," he continued, his deep care shining through. "And you deserve to feel safe. If it's all right with you, I will walk you to school." Her dark eyes widened, glistening with tears of relief and gratitude. She nodded quickly, her curly pigtails bouncing. "Really?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. "Really," he confirmed with a reassuring smile. "I promise." In that instant, a wave of security washed over Amara, something she hadn't felt in a very long time. It wasn't just his words, it was the calm, steady authority in his presence that made her feel protected. The room slowly returned to its lively hum, but for Amara, the world had shifted. The streets, she feared, seemed a little less frightening. The loud noises and fast cars were still there, but now, she had someone who would walk beside her, making them all feel distant. Mr. Carter stayed on his knees for a moment longer, asking gentle questions about her route to school, her favorite subjects, and her friends. Amara, who had been so timid, began to answer with growing confidence, her natural curiosity bubbling to the surface. As the event ended, Amara and Mr. Carter left the hall together. She held tightly to her pink backpack, her step steadier than before. The heavy worry in her heart had been replaced by a flutter of hope. The morning sun cast a warm glow on the street as they stepped outside. "Thank you for helping me," Amara said, her small voice breaking the quiet. Mr. Carter smiled down at her. "You're welcome, Amara. Every child deserves to feel safe. And I'll be here as long as you need me. For the first time in weeks, Amara felt she wasn't alone. Not in the streets, not in a crowd, and not in the world. And it all started with one small, but incredibly brave, question. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that celebrates kindness and courage. See you next time. The morning sunlight spilled across the quiet street as 6-year-old Amara peered out from behind the front door of her home. Her pink backpack rested on her small shoulders, the strap snug against her chest. She wore her favorite, comfortable school clothes, but today they felt almost ceremonial like armor for what she was about to experience. Her heart thumped with anticipation. The day she had asked Mr. Jordan Carter to walk her to school had already passed, but she hadn't been sure if his promise would truly be kept. She had told herself that it was just a dream, one of those things that children hope for but rarely see come true. Yet a soft sound outside made her spin toward the street, and there he was, Mr. Jordan Carter, the compassionate billionaire, stood waiting. His tailored navy suit, crisp white shirt, and polished shoes were impeccable, yet somehow his presence didn't feel distant or intimidating. It felt protective, gentle, reliable. He looked directly at Amara and gave her a warm, reassuring smile. The kind of smile that spoke without words. You are safe. I am here. Today will be okay. Amara stepped forward slowly, the colorful beads in her pigtails clinking softly. She was shy, but courageous. Her gaze flitting between the familiar streets she had always feared and the man who now offered to guide her through them. She held her backpack straps tightly, feeling both the weight of her belongings and the hope she had carried since yesterday. As she approached, Mr. Carter knelt beside her, bringing his thoughtful dark eyes to her level. His voice, calm and warm, resonated with the same gentle authority she had admired during the charity event. Good morning, Amara, he said softly. Are you ready for our walk? She nodded, unable to speak for a moment. Her heart raced, and her small chest rose and fell quickly, but slowly she allowed herself to feel safe. Mr. Carter extended his hand gently. Shall we go? He asked, his tone patient and kind. Amara placed her tiny hand in his. It felt large and solid around hers, grounding her fears with a sense of assurance she hadn't felt in months. As they began their walk down the street, the world seemed different. Cars still rushed past, and the occasional shout echoed from a corner, but none of it reached her the same way. With Mr. Jordan Carter beside her, the streets felt smaller, calmer, safer. His presence radiated authority and care in equal measure, a protective shield that made the ordinary world feel manageable. She spoke first, her voice hesitant but growing stronger with every word. I want to be a teacher one day, she said softly, so I can help other kids too. Mr. Carter nodded, genuinely interested, his calm, confident presence reassuring her that her dreams mattered. That's wonderful, Amara, and I can tell you already have the patience and kindness to be an excellent teacher someday. Her small lips curved into a shy smile, and she glanced up at him with her expressive dark eyes, full of gratitude and curiosity. And what about school? He asked, walking slowly beside her, his hand occasionally brushing gently against hers. What do you like the most? Amara's pigtails bobbed as she gestured toward her backpack. I like reading stories, and drawing, and sometimes math, even though it's hard. He chuckled softly, the sound warm and comforting. Math can be tricky, he said, but if you keep trying, you'll master it. And reading stories is a superpower. Stories help us understand the world. Her eyes widened, and she nodded, holding onto the hand of the man who was teaching her something far more important than any lesson in a textbook: courage. As they walked, they passed the familiar corner where a loud man often yelled at passersby. Normally, Amara would have clutched her backpack tighter and glanced anxiously at the cars. But with Mr. Jordan Carter beside her, she barely noticed. He saw the flicker of nervousness in her eyes, even if she tried to hide it. See that, Amara? He said softly, his voice a calm anchor in the noise. Even on streets that seem scary, we can take one careful step at a time. You're already doing it. She looked up at him, her dark eyes bright with wonder. I am, she asked, her voice a small whisper. Yes, he smiled warmly. Every step you take, every time you keep going, even when you're nervous, that's courage. Amara felt her chest swell slightly. She had always thought courage was for superheroes, for big people doing big things. She never imagined it could be for her, a 6-year-old with pigtails and a pink backpack. Courage didn't always feel big or loud. Sometimes, it felt like holding a pink backpack, taking small steps, and trusting the right person to walk beside you. They continued down the street, and the silence between them was no longer filled with fear, but with a growing comfort. Mr. Carter occasionally asked her about her favorite colors, which she said were pink and sparkly gold. He asked about her favorite animals, and she told him about a book she read about majestic lions, which made him smile. He asked about the stories she loved, and she shyly recounted a tale about a princess who saved herself. With each question, she felt seen. With each answer, she felt her own voice growing stronger. As they neared her school, the familiar red brick building coming into view, Amara paused. A knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. This part of the journey was over. What about tomorrow? She couldn't bear the thought of walking alone again, not after feeling so safe. Will you come again tomorrow? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, her eyes fixed on the pavement. Mr. Carter stopped and looked at her seriously. His fair skin seemed to glow in the morning light, and his thoughtful dark eyes locked onto hers with an unwavering promise. He knelt again, bringing his calm, confident presence down to her level, so they were face to face. Of course, Amara, he said softly, his voice firm but gentle. I will come every morning. No child should ever feel unsafe on their way to school. And you deserve to feel safe every single day. Her lips curved into a small, radiant smile, and the beads in her pigtails jingled softly as she lifted her head. Her gentle, hopeful energy seemed to grow brighter, her small frame standing taller with a newfound confidence. You really mean it? She asked, her voice trembling slightly with a mix of hope and disbelief. Absolutely, he replied, his gaze steady and reassuring. You are brave, Amara, and bravery deserves support. I will be here. The words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. She felt a sense of relief she had known existed, the kind that only comes when someone truly believes in you, when a promise feels as solid as the ground beneath your feet. The school gates loomed just ahead. Children bustled about, their laughter and shouts filling the air, but none of them mattered to Amara at this moment. All that mattered was the large, warm hand holding hers. She held on tightly, her dark eyes sparkling with a combination of awe and security. Thank you, she whispered, almost to herself, the words carrying all the gratitude in her small heart. You're welcome, Amara, he said with a small, warm smile that reached his eyes. Now go have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow. As she stepped inside the school grounds, she felt something profound shift within her. A small girl had asked for help, and it had arrived. A kind man with patience, warmth, and quiet authority had answered. And in that simple act, she discovered that the world could be safe, that courage could be shared, and that even a 6-year-old could change her own morning just by speaking her truth. She turned once more to look at him. Mr. Jordan Carter was still there, standing tall yet gentle, his tailored navy suit perfectly in place, his presence radiating both authority and kindness as he watched her go. And she knew with every step she took toward the school doors that he would be there the next day, and the day after that. He would be walking beside her, keeping her safe, and helping her believe in her own strength. For Amara, it wasn't just a walk. It was the start of something bigger. Hope, courage, and trust in a world that had often felt too big and too scary. And for Mr. Jordan Carter, it was a profound reminder that the smallest gestures like walking a child to school could ripple far beyond the streets, shaping hearts, communities, and futures, one small, courageous step at a time. Their walks quickly turned into a daily ritual. Every morning, without fail, Mr. Jordan would be there, a steady and reassuring presence at Amara's side. But this story doesn't end with just a walk to school. What started as a simple promise to a little girl began to ripple outwards, touching every corner of their community. Mr. Jordan, fueled by Amara's courage and his own rediscovered sense of purpose, knew he couldn't stop there. He started attending community meetings, his voice, once quiet, now speaking with conviction about the safety of their children. He met with local business owners and city council members, painting a vivid picture of the anxieties parents and kids faced every day. He wasn't just talking, he was organizing. He spearheaded a neighborhood watch program, bringing neighbors together who had previously only been passing strangers. They learned to look out for one another, creating a web of safety and connection that the community hadn't felt in years. One of his first major victories was improving the lighting. Mr. Jordan, along with the team of volunteers, canvassed the neighborhood. Identifying every dark corner, every flickering street lamp, they'd petitioned the city, presenting their findings with undeniable clarity. Soon, new, bright LED lights were installed, chasing away the shadows and making the evening streets feel welcoming instead of menacing. It was a simple change, but it made a world of difference. Next, he tackled the school routes directly. He worked with the school principal and the local police department to establish a safe routes to school program. They mapped out the safest paths, recruited parent volunteers to act as crossing guards at busy intersections, and even got local shops to put stickers in their windows, identifying them as safe havens where a child could go if they ever felt scared or lost. Through all of this, Amara was right there. She wasn't just the little girl who needed protection anymore. She had become a symbol of courage for the entire neighborhood. Her simple, brave request had ignited a movement. She would help Mr. Jordan hand out flyers, her bright smile encouraging others to join in. She saw firsthand how one person's voice, even a small one, could inspire an entire community to stand up and make a change. Mr. Jordan, in turn, had found a new lease on life. He wasn't just the lonely old man in the corner house anymore. He was a leader, a protector, a friend. He had shown everyone that you don't need a title or a position of power to make a difference. All you need is a compassionate heart and the willingness to take that first step. The story of Amara and Mr. Jordan became a local legend, a powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest transformations begin with the smallest and most sincere request from a child. Their daily walk had become a march for progress, changing not just a single street, but the heart of an entire community. Thank you for watching, and if this story inspired you, please consider subscribing for more content that celebrates the power of connection and community.